What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Interlinked podcast. I am your host, Ray, and I'm so grateful that you're here. We are already on episode 8, and if this is your first time listening, I just want to say you made it to the perfect episode. I think this is going to be one of my favorites, if not my favorite episode, and I'm very passionate about this topic, so I hope that that translates in this episode, and I hope that it really makes an impact on you. That's always my goal, but this topic in particular, I'm really, really excited for you to hear about. So, today we're going to be talking about all things manifestation, how to change your mindset, affirmations that will improve your sense of self, lucky girl syndrome, the invisible string theory, quantum leaping, neuroplasticity, and more. So consider this part 1 of 2 because this week's episode is going to prime you for what I'm going to cover next week, and that'll be a more step-by-step on how to manifest. This week is background knowledge and getting your mind right. So manifesting, although it seems new in the way that it trends on TikTok, like, oh, lucky girl syndrome, which I will cover, this is not a new thing. There's pieces of this that date back to religions like Hinduism or Buddhism or Christianity, even. And I've really found recently that spirituality and religion overlap in so many ways. So, whether you are spiritual, religious, or neither, I think it's very powerful to understand that you have the power to shape your reality, but there's also other forces acting in the background. Manifesting really comes down to a few key concepts, and whether you look at it from a science or psychological perspective, or if you look at it from a spiritual perspective, you should still be able to recognize that there's power in it, or at the very least, there's power in your mind. So, I want to start with some laws that I'm sure you've heard of before to get in the mindset of someone who can manifest their dream life. Because after we talk a little bit about manifesting, the science behind it, the psychology behind it, I'm going to give you a step by step procedure on how you can manifest whatever you want in this life. So, I wanted to cover the law of attraction because I feel like we can't talk about manifesting without talking about the law of attraction. I think that manifesting really is backed by the law of attraction, amongst other laws, principles, mindsets, etc. So, the law of attraction is basically your thoughts and your feelings create your reality. So, if you have positive thoughts, you'll have positive experiences. If you have negative thoughts, you'll have negative experiences. So, at a basic level, that's the law of attraction. But one thing I want to point out about the law of attraction is the fact that you're attracting these experiences. You're attracting good energy from your energy. So it's not about forcing things and it's not about trying to control what happens. It's about you focusing your energy on the good in life, having gratitude, and then basically being rewarded. Now, here's the thing, a lot of people are very against manifesting because they see it as some woo woo type of shit. And I just want to say that I'm giving you this background so you can understand that when I say I'm manifesting all of these things and you look at me like, okay, you're crazy, this is backed by psychology. Things like confirmation bias and self fulfilling prophecies, like those are actual psychological terms that can back up this law of attraction. And overall, this idea of manifesting, the principles that are involved can be backed up. If you've ever been around somebody that is very negative and kind of drains your energy, I want you to think about why. And if you are that person yourself, think about the way that you exist in the world. Are you constantly focused on the negatives in your life? Are you constantly thinking, oh, of course this happened to me. Yeah, my car broke down. Just add it to the list. If that's you and more negative things keep happening, this kind of comes down to the law of attraction. Like you're focused on negative things, so more negative experiences are going to come into your life because you're basically affirming your beliefs. I think that the law of attraction goes beyond just having positive thoughts and then getting positive experiences. The law of attraction really focuses on you being your true, authentic self so that what's meant for you will enter your life and will benefit you in the way that you want to be benefited. So, you're attracting the things that bring you true happiness or bring you joy or bring out the best version of you. If you struggle with feeling like you attract positive things into your life, I do have some affirmations that I think you can use that will help you. So, some things you might say are abundance flows to me like a river. My relationships are filled with love and trust. I radiate positive energy. I'm confident in my decisions. I attract success in every endeavor. I'm capable of achieving my dreams. I'm deserving of love, health, and success. Through these affirmations, you should be able to notice that the law of attraction doesn't have anything to do with you controlling these experiences. It has everything to do with you being yourself, you seeing the good in things, and therefore attracting more positive reactions, more positive experiences, more uplifting people into your life, more trust in your intuition, and the ability to surrender because you know that you're bringing in the good. So, along the lines of being able to surrender and accept that you don't have control of everything, I think it's really important to mention the law of detachment. So, the law of detachment states that if this thing doesn't work out, it's for a reason. I'll be okay and something better will come. I truly believe that the law of detachment is so powerful because it really conditions you to understand that you can't force everything. You can't make a relationship that's not working work. And sometimes when you try to do that, you try to change a person, you try to make these puzzle pieces that don't fit. That's where your body, your intuition, your intentions, your alignment, everything is starting to be really off balance. And if you just detach, all of that can go back to equilibrium. If you just break up with the person, you can go back to finding yourself. You can go back to being in situations that uplift you. You can go back to not trying to force somebody to love you. You know what I'm saying? Like, the law of detachment will prevent you from exhausting yourself and stretching yourself so thin just to be accepted in a community or just to be loved by a person that can't love you in the way that you want to be loved. The law of detachment forces you to be okay with rejection. You don't fear it because you know that whatever is meant to work out for you will work out. And if it didn't work out, there's a reason for that. It forces you to take imperfect action and make imperfect progress. You will naturally be okay with not performing at the highest standard, with not succeeding in everything that you do. You'll be okay with failure because you'll understand that it's a part of your growth. And you'll understand that you have to fail in order to understand a better way. Like, life is literally just an experiment. You try one thing, it doesn't work out. You try another thing, it doesn't work out. You try another thing, it doesn't work out. Are we going to give up or are we going to realize it's not meant to work out until it does? And then that gratitude feels so much stronger. It feels so much more powerful because you had to fail to be able to reach where you are now. Manifesting is not instantaneous. It's not going to say, okay, I'm rich, and then the next morning you wake up to $1 million in your bank account. That's not what manifesting is. And I feel like a lot of people have that perception that it's like, okay, you're manifesting your dreams. Sure, you're just saying random shit and believing it's going to come true. Why? Like, that's not actually going to happen. And they're very doubtful of the process. But again, it's not going to happen overnight. Now, there's people online that like to say, like, I manifested my dream life in 10 days or whatever crazy timeline they have. Don't focus so much on that. It's a process. Stop questioning when or how you will bear fruit. Instead, focus on what and why. So stop focusing on the how, focus on the what and the why. So, what I mean by that is focus on what you're trying to achieve and why you want to achieve it. Focus less on how am I going to get there? How much time is this going to take? How am I going to manage to fit this in my schedule? The how doesn't matter. The how is left to the universe. The how is left to God. Whatever you believe in, that's what manifesting is about. It's putting in some effort, but then also surrendering to the fact that if you have this idea or this dream, you can plant that seed. You are going to put in work to get it, but you're also not going to choose every single thing that happens along the way. It's a process. I talked about instant gratification before on my minimalism episode, and I think it's really important for us to realize that there's beauty in the process, and letting go is a huge part. So, the law of detachment in my book is huge. Most of the time, the best things are the things that you don't have to beg for, you don't have to cry over, you don't have to force, you don't have to stress about. They just make sense, they just fall into place. And this is big with relationships in particular. If you feel like it's a battle to even align your personalities, that's not meant to be, okay? It might feel like this with a job or when you move to this place and you're like, oh my God, this felt so easy. Like I didn't have to force it. I didn't have to think so much on how am I going to make this work? It was just, what do I want? I want to move or I want this type of partner. And suddenly they just fell into my lap or this place just came out the blue and I'm so happy here. Imagine if all of the things that you really did want worked out. Where would you be? What type of people would you have in your life? What would your environment look like? There's beauty in detachment because you're not forcing things. You're not obsessing over outcomes. You're not fixating on how much life could be better if only you had this thing. What's meant for you will never escape your consciousness. And if it does, it may be that you're not in the right mindset. But when you are, that thing might come back around. This directly correlates to the invisible string theory or the red string theory. If you've ever heard of it, this was an urban legend that said there's a red string that's attached to you, and all the people that are meant to be in your life are kind of attached to you forever. So the string never snaps, essentially. You could be surrounded by this person your entire childhood, never interact with them, and then 25 years later, you meet them and you're like, oh my God, wait, what? We were in this class together, or you knew my parents, or I grew up on the same street as you, or you were in my math class freshman year, whatever it may be. That's what the invisible string theory states. You don't meet people until you are in the mindset to meet them, but when the time is right, it'll happen. So, again, if you're trying to force a relationship and you're like, no, they are the one, I just know it, like I have to make it work, think about that. Maybe it really does feel like they are the one, but maybe you'll meet again in a few years. And I actually know someone, one of my coworkers is with this guy, and they actually knew each other in college. They were like together for a brief moment, and they ended up living their lives. She got married, he did his thing, whatever. She was on Facebook one day and ended up stumbling upon his profile. They ended up talking again, and now they live together. And the gap between college and now was like 30 plus years. So, this invisible string theory directly correlates to the law of detachment. Maybe in college they were not on the same wavelength. They weren't meant to be together, but years went on, experiences were had, growth happened, and they made their way back to each other. So that's what I'm talking about, where it's like, have faith in the universe. Trust that things will work out and know that you have everything that you need in this moment. If something is meant for you, it will find a way back. So, some affirmations for you if you want to focus more on this law of detachment and activate it in your life. Here's some things you can start saying. My desires are always seeking me, so it's safe for me to let them go. I'm okay whichever way the situation goes because everything always happens in my best interest. I let go of all expectations and release the need to judge or criticize. I choose to focus on my own energy and my own life. So you can definitely find more law of detachment affirmations online, but I just want you to focus on how important this is and start to think about the power in letting go. So we've talked about the law of attraction, we've talked about the law of detachment. Now, let's talk about the power in your words and your belief system. So, one thing I always go back to whenever I'm in a state of doubt or negativity is where intention goes, energy flows. So, this is really, really important for manifesting in particular because you have to be in a state to receive. You cannot be in a state of lack and expect all of these positive things to come your way. Emotion is energy in motion. So if you're feeling negativity, if you're feeling self doubt, if you're feeling let down, if you're feeling hopeless, if you're feeling guilt or shame or anger, how can you then set in motion things like growth or gratitude or abundance or a dream relationship? How can you do that when you're not aligned with those feelings? Limiting beliefs are the main thing that will take you from manifesting your dream life to falling flat. You cannot manifest anything when you're constantly reaffirming limiting beliefs. So, negative self talk needs to go. Things like, I'm stupid or I'm bad at blank. So if you're like, oh, I'm bad at cooking, but one of the things that you want to manifest is having a bakery and selling out. How can you tell yourself you're bad at cooking, but then also want to own a business that relies on you being good at that thing? You get what I'm saying? So, like, you can't say, I'm broke and then expect that you're going to be rich. You can't manifest that your bank account is fat, but then walk around telling everyone you're broke. So if you're having a night out and you guys are all at dinner and you're looking at the menu and trying to decide what you want to eat, and your friend asks you, oh, what are you getting? And you want to get something, but then you're like, I was going to get the salmon, but I'm broke. Like, that's a moment where I'd be like, ugh, don't say that. Even the fact of you thinking it, that's a limiting belief. Instead, reroute it. Tell yourself, I'm getting this thing because I want it, not I'm not getting the salmon because I don't have money. Be intentional about what you say and how you carry yourself. I remember in high school when I took this personal finance class, we learned about this dude, Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you guys have heard this before, but it's like, if you don't tell your money where to go, you'll be asking your money where it went. That never left my brain because that's just the purest form of intention. Like, you have to tell everything where to go. You have to tell your money where to go. You have to tell your mind where to go. You have to tell your body where to go. That all just comes down to intention. If you tell your mind you're smart, you're capable, you are abundant, that's where your mind is going. If you tell your body you're going to the gym, you're fit, you're going to work out, that's where your body's going. So, having intentions is very powerful. This looks like putting yourself in spaces that enhance your self image. So, if you're in a relationship or you have these toxic people in your life, you need to remove them because Your words, your belief system, your self perception is a direct reflection of who's in your environment or how your environment makes you feel. If you feel like you don't have a good sense of self, or you don't look at yourself in the mirror and feel good, or you don't talk to yourself kindly, I want to encourage you to start bringing in some positivity. Start bringing in some affirmations that can change the narrative for you, because through your words, you can change your beliefs and you can change your actions and you can change your reality. So, I want to stress the power of I am thinking, and this is huge. There's an app that I use that's called I Am, and I put it as a widget on my phone. And so every day there's a new one. It will tell me I am powerful, I am resilient, I am growing stronger every day, I am deserving of love and respect. I am a magnet for opportunities. I am enough right now and always. I am confident and capable in all that I do. So, those are just some of the examples that I see on a daily basis, and I'm like, this is what I really needed today. And I feel like it's always hitting. Like, I will be going through something, and then my I am is like exactly what I needed to see. I'll be like, God, I'm so overwhelmed at work. I'm so overwhelmed just in general with all the things I have going on. And then I'll look at my home screen, and my I am is, I don't stress over things I can't control. I have everything I need right now. Whatever it may be, I'm always seeing exactly what I need to see when I need to see it. And it's really powerful to remind yourself that no matter what you're going through, you can speak to yourself in a way that's offering grace, that's offering kindness, that's allowing yourself to fall, that's allowing yourself to feel down and to pick yourself back up in those moments where you don't feel the strongest. But you know what? You can get back up. You can make these as powerful as you need to feel whatever you need to feel. So, I am the woman of my dreams. I radiate goddess energy. I'm admired. I'm respected. I elude confidence and elegance. I light up every room I walk into. I am magnetic. People find me addictive and breathtaking. I am the blueprint. I am unforgettable. So, whatever you want to speak to yourself, speak that shit and make it real to you. Don't just say, I'm a magnet, and then walk around closed off feeling like shit about yourself. If you're a magnet, then you better act like a magnet. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really changes your self image and the way that you carry yourself. So, again, understand the power in your words. To bring some science into this, your reticular activating system, or your RAS, is what confirms whatever you believe about yourself or about your life. So, this is basically a filter for what's important and what we notice. Your brain wants to confirm what you tell it to think. It works to prove this by focusing on things that align with your perceptions or beliefs, and it filters out the things that don't. So, if you've ever heard about the red car theory, you think about something like a red car and you take note of how often you see it now that you're placing your focus on it. So, you pass red cars all day, but now that you're focused on seeing red cars, you're like, oh my God, I see them so often. And you never realized because your RAS was filtering that out as unimportant. So when you focus on the positive and you think of yourself in a positive way, that's what you're going to see. So this goes back to the law of attraction. Once again, your RAS is going to say, oh my God, I'm acting in this way. I'm magnetic. I'm powerful. I'm strong. I'm positive. And look at all of these experiences that are confirming that. So this is where that lucky girl mindset comes into play. Constantly focusing on the good makes you feel like, oh my God, I have this energy, I have this aura that I can walk around and get anything that I want. I'm feeling delusional, but really, I'm just being optimistic, I'm just being hopeful. even when the odds are stacked against me, I know I'm going to come out on top because I attract good things. I let go of things that don't serve me. I'm powerful. I'm magnetic. I'm confident. So why wouldn't I get princess treatment? Why wouldn't I get a free coffee? Or why wouldn't this opportunity fall into my lap? I deserve that. A personal example I have of this lucky girl syndrome is I was at a comedy show with my friend, her man, and my sister. And we were having a good time, but we also knew that just down the road, the Drake concert was going on. And we were kind of weighing our options like, this comedy show is mid, but we could be at Drake right now. So basically, we kind of just started thinking, like, what if we just tried to go get into the concert? Like, why not try it? And my sister was like, dude, the tickets are probably sold out. Like, it's gonna be super expensive. There's no way we're gonna be able to get in. The concert started already. Like, how are we gonna go? And I was like, let's fuck around and find out. Like, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? We don't get in. So we walk down the street. We're looking for the entrance. Okay. We're looking for the box office. I'm a little confused because I'm like, there's all these doors. I don't know where we're headed, but we end up finding the correct door. I see the security guard and I'm like, hey, we're trying to buy tickets for the concert that's going on. I know it already started, but is there tickets still available? And she's like, oh, I mean, it already started. Like, I don't know how you're gonna, I don't know how you're gonna get in. And I'm like, well, where's the box office? Like, is it right over there? Can we just go talk to the woman? And she's like, I mean, if you want to, like, I don't. And she was very doubtful. But I was like, oh no, we're going to get in. Like, it's fine. And she was like, whatever you say. And I was being delusional. I was like, we're getting in. I had full confidence and I didn't have a shred of doubt. I don't know why, but I truly was like, we are getting in. So I walked up to the counter and I was like, hey, we want to go to the concert. I know it already started, but do you have any tickets? And the woman is like, I don't know. Like, let me check. I was very hopeful. I'm like, we have four. Whatever you have is fine. And the guy behind her starts looking and he's like, I could check for you. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. He's scrolling through. He's kind of saying, like, it's not looking good. Scrolling for a while. I'm still being delusional though. I'm like, we are getting in. Like, we're getting in. I kept silently, like, turning around and being like, guys, we're getting in. And me and my friend, we were both kind of on this path of like being delusional. So she's like, yeah, we're getting in. We're speaking that shit. What do we get? 4 floor seats for free. For free. The dude was like, oh, yeah, I can just give you these. And I was like, oh, wow, how much do I owe you? And he was like, nah, you're good. We walk into that concert, bro. It had only started like probably 15 minutes ago, and we are on the floor. Like, literally, I could reach up and touch him if I wanted to. And that happened because I just believed in it. I had confidence, I believed I was lucky, and I got lucky. So that's what I mean by the odds stacked against you. Like, be a little bit delusional. Have hope. Know that you can get whatever the hell you want to just because you can and you want it. Beyond these big events, it's literally just telling yourself you're lucky, even for the small things. Having gratitude, having appreciation for literally everything that comes your way is going to make you feel like a lucky girl or a lucky guy. So, how can you achieve this mindset? How can you just feel like, yeah, everything works out for me, I'm lucky? Be more grateful. Have a daily gratitude journal. This will literally train your mind to believe that things are always working out for you. And look, here's a diary of all the proof. Like, it's so easy to forget how lucky we are, or acts of kindness, or moments where it's like, I'm so glad that happened. Like, wow, that really worked out in my favor. But we forget about them. So, train your brain to not forget. Write it down and then look back on it because now you're reaffirming these positive thoughts. You're reaffirming, oh, I am magnetic. Oh, I am powerful. Oh, I am lucky. Look at all the things that just happened to me all the time. There's also a fancy science term for this. It's neuroplasticity. Neurons that fire together wire together. So, the more that you reaffirm old patterns or experiences or behaviors that are negative, the more ingrained they become. On the other hand, the more you reaffirm new patterns or experiences or behaviors that are positive, now you're allowing new pathways to form. And now you can have new experiences. And now you can have a new personality that is lucky, that is abundant, that allows you to have positive and attractive experiences. Change your thoughts, change your reality. Every thought, feeling, or action that we engage in triggers thousands of neurons that join together to form neural networks. These patterns or behaviors that are repeated become automatic. So, the more that we engage in these positive thoughts or actions, the more we strengthen the associated neural networks, the quicker signals can be processed until eventually signals can be processed almost instantly. So, Joe Dispenza is a huge player in the manifestation field, and if you don't know of him, I highly recommend getting familiar because he will change your life. I'm not even playing with you. So, he mentions this thing called the quantum field pretty frequently, which is just a reality where infinite possibilities exist. There's no time, there's no space, you have no body, there's no senses, there's no light, there's no nothing. The only thing that there is awareness. Everything here exists as energy or waves of potential, not as physical matter. This quantum universe was studied by scientists like Einstein and Bohr. They began to observe atoms, which, as we know, are the building blocks of matter, and the subatomic particles that make up atoms protons, neutrons, and electrons. More specifically, they discovered something really crazy about one of these. If you've ever heard of the double slit experiment, this was a huge moment where they discovered that electrons exhibit wave like and particle like properties. So there was this duality, and it was nothing like they had ever seen before. So, in this experiment, they were observing how light behaves, and specifically how it behaves as it travels through something. So, as it travels through two slits in particular. And what they noticed was it wasn't acting as a particle or a wave. It was actually acting as both because they saw this interference pattern and they were like, oh, it's actually doing both. And when it came to electrons, they expected them to pass through either one slit or the other once again, but instead found that electrons too move very unpredictably. This led to the discovery of something known as the observer effect, where only when an observer detector was involved did the electron collapse the wave function into a particle and pass through one slit or the other. So, in other words, if you weren't looking at it, it disappeared back into energy. But if you were looking at it, it behaved like a bullet passing through one of the slits. And this is pretty insane to think about. Like, the electrons almost knew someone was watching, which is really weird. It kind of bends reality because it then makes you think, are we passive observers or can we too shape our reality? If our attention has the power to shift energy to a wave, to a particle, and then to matter, what can we do with that? When we set strong intentions and have clear goals, this can allow us to collapse the wave of potentials into an actual experience in our 3D reality. And sometimes people call this quantum leaping. So they say that, those intuitions that you get where it's like, oh my God, I'm feeling really passionate. Like, I really want this thing in my life. I really want to own this coffee shop, or I really want to live in this place. And then there's this idea that you really want it because in another reality, you already have it. So all you have to do is match the frequency of the potentials and they will collapse into a perceivable experience. A creator I follow on TikTok described this really well. She said that the quantum field is like a radio station. So if you're sitting in the car and you don't have a certain station on, that doesn't mean that the station doesn't exist. You just haven't turned the dial to be able to hear it. So, being in the quantum field or manifesting your dreams is kind of like turning that dial. If you match the frequency of the experience you want to have, or if you turn that dial to match the frequency of the station that you're on, you can then collapse those things that are just thoughts or dreams into an actual experience that you can have on this 3D earth. So, to recap, we talked about the law of attraction, we talked about the law of detachment, we covered that invisible string theory. We learned that our words hold a lot of power and have the ability to change our beliefs. We got some affirmations that we can study and speak into our existence. We covered that lucky girl mindset and learned how can we do this in our lives. We hit on neuroplasticity and the quantum field. And overall, we learned that our minds are so much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. Convince your mind you are lucky and deserving of everything that you've ever wanted. Believe in yourself because I definitely do. So, I did ideally want to include the step-by-step instructions on how you can manifest anything that you want in this episode, but I decided that since we already have a good chunk of time in and a lot of information already covered in just this episode, I thought I could make it carry on to next week. So, your homework for next Thursday is I want you to find some affirmations that stand out to you, and this could be pulling from the law of attraction, the law of detachment, anything I mentioned, or just maybe even that lucky girl mindset. Find affirmations that really align with who you want to be and start to write them down. Repeat them over in your head. If you need to say them to yourself in the mirror every morning, whatever it takes. But I want you to find some affirmations that you like. I also want you to download that I Am app and see how it impacts you. Put it as a widget on your home screen and just see how it affects your mood and your strength and your mindset throughout the day and through hard situations. Pay attention to the words that you say and the way that you carry yourself. So again, limiting beliefs should not be coming out of your mouth. So let's say you do say something like, I'm stupid. You could even take it a step further and write that down on paper, in your journal, in your notes app, whatever it may be, and literally cross that shit out and replace it with the exact opposite. So if you're saying I'm stupid, cross it out and put I'm smart. If you're saying I look ugly today or I feel ugly today, cross that shit out and put I feel beautiful today. If you say you're bad at something, give yourself grace and say, I'm learning to be better at blank. Switch the narrative and take note of it. Also, on the note of taking notes, do that gratitude journal. I'm telling you, if you want to feel lucky and if you want to feel like everything's always working out for you, you need to write it down so that your brain can remember. And again, it trains your brain to remember without you having to write it down, because you're just going to eventually feel like, I don't need to write it down because there's so much that goes on every day, every minute. I would be running out of paper. What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm so excited to hear about your mindset shifts or the affirmations you're loving. Whatever it may be, hit me up. I always love anything that you guys send me and any updates that you give me. So, would love to hear about it. And yeah, stay tuned for next week because after you've put in the work from this episode, you'll definitely be ready to manifest whatever the hell you want.